forgettable. That word would kill many a movie. It's forgettable. So, watch it again? Seriously, just try it. Rewatching forgettable movies is incredible because you're experiencing it again for seemingly the first time. An infinite amount of first-time viewings. Isn't that cool? Anyways, before I go on, let's address the elephant in the room. If you've been following me for a while, you'll notice my whole aesthetic is different. Welcome to the rebooted channel. Now, this isn't the first time I've done this. I started out as a gaming channel, believe it or not, playing Kingdom Hearts 3 before I really knew what Kingdom Hearts was. And then I swapped to analysis and tried many different video formats with many different jingles. The only old video I still have up is my Girl Meets World video essay. Sad. Anyways, forgettable movies. I've got two that I'm going to bring up here. Two movies that I know of that kind of feel like the forgettable aspect is the only thing people ever bring up when talking about them. I don't know, I could be wrong. Alice in Wonderland 2010 and Thor: The Dark World. Let's start with Thor. So the first big thing I noticed while watching this movie is that it's really funny. Taika Waititi wasn't the first one to make funny Thor movies. Whoever did the first and second Thor had it going way before Taika was ever signed on to Marvel. It even surprised me. Like, I remembered this movie was funny, but I clearly didn't remember just how comedic it could be. And the score of the movie is incredible. Probably one of my favorite movie scores, period. They do foreshadowing really well. Like, really, really well. When Frigga tells Odin to be careful, and it turns out that she was the one that had to be careful after all, man, it's amazing. And Loki! Loki is in this movie. If Loki is in something, how could it not be loved?
Come on. What did you expect?
Wait, no, that's not Loki. Totally different character, yeah. The soundtrack was a banger, though. I must also say that all the major characters that aren't named Thor or Jane are handled exceptionally well. Okay, I guess that just leaves Odin and Loki, but seriously, their characters were done exceptionally. Anyways, moving on, Alice in Wonderland 2010 has also gotten the same forgettable treatment. Now, I personally love this movie. I think the cast of characters work really well in the twisted, dark way that they're portrayed, and I think the ending is amazing. Alice having to overcome her disbelief and truly step into her role as the hero of Underland was a really interesting take on her character. I am quite aware, however, that both of these movies have significant flaws. Thor doesn't really have that much of an arc in his movie. He starts out with the potential for one. You know, he has responsibilities as the Prince of Asgard and Defender of the Nine Realms, but all he wants to do is be with Jane again. The movie, however, does not really seem interested in going forward with this arc, so it's odd that they would bring it up in the first place. The plot does not truly start until 21 minutes in, and the emotional ending conversation is undercut to advertise Ragnarok. The final fight is mid, and there are a lot of plot conveniences to make the story work. Simultaneously, Alice 2010 has major problems as well. Arguably bigger problems than Dark World. Whereas Alice's arc is undoubtedly really cool, by the end, it is rushed because they spent so long in the movie keeping her stagnant. So this means that Alice really isn't quite as interesting to watch as I originally made it sound. It's not helped by the fact that the plot does not seem very focused either. Alice doesn't want to marry Hamish, but is scared of being looked down on. She gets distracted by the rabbit and falls into Underland. From there, she's dragged all over the place by the twins, the Cheshire, the Hatter, and the White Queen. She slays a Jabberwocky, comes to terms with how she wants her life to be, and then follows in her father's footsteps as a sailor and a diplomat. I tend to go easier on badly executed movies if I feel like they at least tried. If they tried to be funny, tried to have a distinct identity of its own, and even if those criteria are met, they still have to be enjoyable. And I totally get that's subjective. But the reason I'm bringing it up is that I feel like these movies really did try to be special. So where did they go wrong? Well, let's go back to the basics. You have to have a decent story, compelling main characters, you can't be lazy with your writing, and don't rely so heavily on tropes and conveniences. So many people view Marvel movies as forgettable because they're pretty similar. And whoa, I am actually one of the few people out there that isn't tired of the Marvel formula yet. And I'm not super psyched about the idea of a bunch of grimdark Marvel movies just for the sake of doing something different. But I do have to admit that it is the formula that is becoming the problem. I'm just saying there has to be a better way to fix it than going full darkness and depression, you know? Alice is so inconsequential to her own story that you could put anyone else in her shoes and just make the message into anyone can be the right Alice and very little would change. Thor changes the least out of everyone in this movie. Well, except for Jane, who is not a good character. If it was a movie about Loki or even Odin, I feel like people would have been much more engaged. But by no means are these movies terrible. Thor's movie was really funny, and Tim Burton's tone did wonders for Alice in Wonderland. In conclusion, movies are forgettable, yes, and usually for good reason. But it should never be the be-all, end-all description for any movie. Aw, that was shorter than I was hoping. If only there was another new little segment I wanted to add to my videos to spice things up a bit.